With every year that passes, allowing technology and social media to become more accessible, each and every one of us have the opportunity to hear more voices. And while this has led to an abundance of culture and knowledge being shared at an unprecedented level, there are a lot of people sharing stupid things too. But it's not just people saying things that don't really make sense. A lot of it comes from trying to get a reaction out of people. I'm not just talking about rage baiting, something that's always been a thing but has been given that popularized term lately. I'm actually talking about the opposite reaction as well, and that's people wanting attraction. It's a very human trait to seek out support from others and to be part of a larger community, but when it comes to the internet, a place where anyone can be whoever they want to be without some sort of, physical presence to compare it to, people can be more prone to, let's say, lie about their interests to gain favor from others. Like rage baiting, there is a term for this: LARPing. If you've been on the internet in the past year or so, you either see people calling out LARPers or getting called out for being a LARPer themselves. The thing that's on my mind, however, is I'm wondering how much LARPing is a real problem, or if people are gatekeeping too much, harassing casual fans for not doing or being enough of a true fan. What is the truth behind this LARPing situation? Well, this is a very complex issue, class, so please settle in, because we got a lot to discuss here. First things first, what does the acronym LARP mean? Well, originally it stood for live action roleplay, a special term given to grown-ups who like to go around and play pretend. Which honestly, more power to them. As long as you're financially secure and healthy, you should be able to spend your free time with friends in peace without judgment. Anywho, LARPing has been reassigned lately to describe people online who, on top of just pretending to be fans, just very obviously pretending to be a fan of something to gain favor from a community, it also is assigned to a lot of people who believe, spread, or even argue about popular things while being generally ill-informed. For instance, something I've seen a lot online lately in terms of the whole LARPing thing, I've seen a lot of popular accounts on Instagram and TikTok who like to do comic book trivia posts, which are just blatantly false. Like, they're just so obviously not fact-checked, made up by whoever was posting it, and people eat it up. They don't even attempt to cite a source. And a lot of these accounts where you'd think they might include a source, in their caption, couldn't even be bothered to write captions for their posts. Most of these, comic book trivia accounts just do full paragraphs upon paragraphs of AI-generated summaries of whatever the topic is, very vaguely connected to it. And this isn't even a problem exclusive to any particular niche. There's so much AI content in general, not just Instagram, TikTok, and things like that. To me, it gives more credence to the whole dead internet theory. I mean, how much of this stuff online that we see is even being made by people anymore? Of course, I'm being hyperbolic. There's still a lot of human-made content online, but when people can't be bothered to actually share their own thoughts about something like comic books, for example, it's no wonder that people might call them LARPers. To stay on the point of comic book fans in this video that I'm already feeling is going to get derailed with various subtopics, I can say that the reason many people can be so confidently wrong about meaningless comic book lore on the internet is a lot of people don't actually sit down and read. Whatever the reason may be, the fact is there are a lot of places in at least the United States where there just aren't comic book shops to be found, let alone people having the money to buy comics, especially with the rising prices of everything. For many readers, even though they have access to the internet where the comic sites exist and you can buy digital comics, a lot of people rely on free comic sites to get their stories. Although a lot of free comic sites have been getting shut down recently, and I think that whole situation is a bit of a double-edged sword. Because on one hand, these sites allow people like those comic book trivia accounts to just take panels from the stories with no context. They get shared around on the internet and people act intellectually superior with their knowledge of fictional stories, which in turn leads to very annoying discourse online and less comic sales because people aren't buying the stories. On the other hand, it's a way to share culture with others without being locked behind a paywall, allowing people to read many stories that they otherwise may never have had a chance to, and these free comic sites also help to preserve stories that are no longer in print. So I think that there's great things about it, and there are some maybe annoying things about it. It's just that A lot of people don't want to actually read, but then they go online, they LARP about it, and it can lead to awkward or even annoying interactions with others. Similar to comic books, but different enough to warrant talking about in its own section here, another popular area you could potentially see LARPing in is in collector culture. So many collector's items have become the subject of scalpers aiming to resell things at the highest price, not because they're true fans of something, but because they want to make a quick profit at the financial expense of people who genuinely care. In my mind, scalpers are kind of like the cousins of LARPers. A specific fandom you could look at that has really been feeling the full force of this scalping situation is the Pokemon community, with thousands of videos and news stories coming out about people buying entire stores worth of cards the moment they are available, leading to full-blown fights and even murder. Scalping is obviously more severe than LARPing, but I think they both are indicative of this same sort of cultural phenomenon we're seeing, in which knowledge of lore and ownership of a product is seemingly more valued than just being a fan of something, and you are considered in the wrong if you lack in knowledge or ownership because, there's a lot of people trying to gatekeep, there's also a lot of people trying to capitalize on communities that people are a part of. While I'm on the subject of scalping, and here I go, sort of getting away from LARPing again, but bear with me, I'll tie it all together here, okay? I can't ignore probably one of the most popular instances of scalping in recent times, which was the massive scalping spree of the PlayStation 5 for the first few years of its release. It was basically impossible to get your hands on one for so long because people would buy as many as they could to resell at a higher value, just like what's happening with Pokemon, trading cards, and other collector items. People are weaving their way into these communities to financially take advantage of the true fans. Sort of like how LARPers will kind of try to gain favor with fans of a community despite not really being much of a fan themselves. You know what fans of PlayStation won't be able to get their hands on soon either? New physical releases for PlayStation games, as Sony announced they would be discontinuing discs for new games releasing after January of 2028. For me, video games are the perfect medium that combine music, writing, art, acting, and so many other parts of culture into an interactive experience unlike any other. To limit the ability to share games with others, to own games yourself, to buy them at a discounted price, to get your money back from reselling it, and probably more points not coming to me right now, paints a sad picture for the future of the video game industry. People online were attempting to boycott Sony, but perhaps they were LARPing as well, because as soon as Activision released the ports, not even remasters, for Black Ops 1 and 2, decades-old game by the way, which are being sold separately for $40 each, with DLC also being sold separately for another $30 each in a digital-only package, so you don't even get a disc, while still being overrun with hackers. All of that, and thousands of people bought them up without a complaint in sight. It's not just Sony causing problems either, I'm not going to put all the blame on them, as all tech prices are rising due to AI, because I guess we need to build these AI data centers which kick people out of their homes, take up a ton of land, reduce the amount of safe drinking water, cause a ton of noise pollution, limit the electricity usage, all great things so that everyone can just not think for themselves. It's all really great stuff. You also got Nintendo setting the precedent for $80 digital-only games when the Switch 2 first released. Now, even though they're sort of rolling back on that, Rockstar is just doing what Mario Kart World did, and GTA 6 being the biggest game release of all time, you know that other people are going to follow suit, which does not bode well. And Microsoft bought up a whole bunch of game studios to try and revive Xbox, except they didn't do anything with it and now are laying off thousands of workers. It's not good. I know the future of the indie game world is bright, and those smaller games and studios are doing very well, but there are so many problems currently with one of modern day's biggest forms of cultural artifacts, one that I'm particularly fond of, and it makes me sad. I just talked a lot about different LARPing and LARP adjacent things. Thinking about what that term means and the different areas you might see it in, I will concede that LARPing is prevalent in some areas. The use of that word is especially prevalent in this video because I keep saying it. And the thing is, every time I say it, I get the urge to blurt out how the word is wrong. We already have a word for fake fans. It's called being a poser. I think it's very ironic that we are so hell-bent on calling out LARPing, yet we've appropriated a word to replace a significantly more specific term that explains the issue far better. Maybe it's the people who use terms like LARP who are the LARPers themselves. Think about it. How many people overuse that term? How many people call others LARPers even when they aren't? I understand that if you claim to be a fan of something, you should probably be able to answer basic questions about it, and confidently spreading misinformation that might change the public perception of a subject or community is annoying. I'm not sure I would go as far as to say that someone's ability to prove their extensive knowledge of a niche topic makes them a true fan or not. Because really, what is a true fan? Why is it not enough that some people just like something? It seems to me like people who go around calling out LARPers care way too much about how much of a fan someone is, as if it's some sort of quantifiable trait, instead of encouraging them to expand their limited knowledge of a subject. Wouldn't it be better to improve your community instead of trying to gatekeep it through alienating anyone who can't answer a question about unimportant lore or information? Most of this stuff is just like fake internet stuff, like fans of fiction. Like, it doesn't matter, Some people just casually like things. Let's save the calling out LARPing thing for people who are genuinely being fake fans of stuff to gain favor of something. Let's not just jump at people who might be casual fans and attack them for not knowing everything. Now, first of all, I think it's time to let LARP mean exclusively what it was used for originally and go back to using the term poser. Because now people who do live action roleplay are synonymous with supposedly some of the worst people on the internet, and the far more appropriate term, poser, is becoming lost to the sands of time. Secondly, I think diehard fans should extend more grace to people who are casual fans. Not everyone is going to be, or even wants to be, an expert on everything. Gatekeeping in such a way that you aren't welcome for not being an expert could inadvertently ruin these communities that are meant to be a welcoming place for all fans of something. Why don't we go after the people who actually genuinely are LARPing? I think we have to make the distinction between a casual fan who doesn't know a lot of stuff and somebody who is intentionally trying to gain favor from a community. They're different things, okay? I don't think they're both LARPers. Let's have our energy against people like Sony who are trying to just do all digital and no physical options for things. Like, that's an example of something to be genuinely mad at. But yeah, hopefully this very long off the rails TED Talk makes sense to you. I talked about LARPing and scalping and ownership and data centers and a million different things, but basically this whole thing was, here's stuff that's actually bad and here's stuff that doesn't matter that people are getting mad about. But whatever, look, share your thoughts in the comments below. I'll see you in the future, where hopefully the attitude of the internet has maybe changed a bit in a more positive direction. I don't know how much that's going to change within the next couple weeks or a month or so. I don't know. And people are still going to use LARPing, I know that, but look, just use the term poser. It already exists.